Great to have you on. Great to have. I'm talking to myself here. We're up in New York today, and it has been an interesting day. And I think September. My next guest joined us, Phillip Stutts, and we had just a blast up here. Phillip is from Alabama, and then has moved into a lot of interesting places, marketing. I don't want to typecast you. I mean, I was trying to avoid the political word because that's a lot of what you do, but that's not only what you do.
No, I have different marketing agencies. One's a corporate marketing agency, one's a political marketing agency, and then I give paid speeches and write books and all those types of things.
But I was talking to a guy today who knows you, and he's he's using your model. You have. I was at a conference today speaking on a couple of things, and podcasting was a big part of it. Yeah. You may have mastered podcast about as well as anyone I know.
I used podcasting to launch a book.
Yeah.
And did so successfully and launched a business out of it as well. So, and I don't have a podcast. I went on other people's podcasts. It's really one of the great marketing mechanisms in the world today.
This conference I was at, when we got to the question and answer period, almost everyone in the room, didn't matter how do I get into podcasting? I mean, it was insanity.
Yeah. I mean, apparently they're handing them out like diplomas at Ole Miss right now. So it's you can create a podcast out of nothing.
Yeah, and as somebody else said, anyone can have a podcast. That doesn't mean anyone will listen to your podcast.
I think the average podcast gets about 120 downloads. Yeah. So that tells you what the audience is. So I try to choose higher level ones if I can to get on.
I'm looking you down. This is literally one of my bosses at ESPN calling me right now. I don't mean to let stay. This guy is like a suit at ESPN.
Oh, no.
And I saw him from a distance. He was in the audience at my talk, and he said he was going to call me. And I mean, it's not like he's in LA and doesn't know what I do every day. He's like an executive above me.
Sure.
And I report to somebody that reports to him, and he just called me during the show, which makes you wonder if your career is about to end when your bosses are calling you during your show.
Well, when you say LA, do you mean Lower Alabama?
Yeah. Let's talk about the subject that we last saw you talking about, and that's the name, image, and likeness. And at the time, we had just gotten this brief statement from the NCAA, and we later found out it didn't mean very much.
No. So right now, when I was on in September, I said there was a nuclear bomb about to drop, and that was this California bill that ended up being passed right before I came on right before it passed. And the nuclear bomb happened, but it's sort of this slow roll. It's like 2023 this would go into effect. Well, everything's changed since then. And now there is a crazy collision course between the federal government, state governments, and the NCAA that is coming to a head probably around July 1 of this year. And let's just take the state of Florida, for example. They have a bill in the legislature right now. It would allow college athletes to use their name, image, and likeness to make money, and it would go into effect if it's passed, which they believe it will. The governor is behind it. I talked to the advisors of the governor just the other day about it, and they believe that if it's passed, then it would go into effect July 1, 2020. Mark Emmert thought the California bill would go into effect in 2023. That gave him 4 years to come up with some ideas, put stuff out on the table. Well, now because of Florida, this thing is on super speed right now. Everything's coming. Like I said, there's a collision course all of these people are on. So Emmert went to the federal government and is working with them to try to find one bill that would work all over the country. Why the Florida bill is so important is because if it's passed, let's just take the state of Alabama, right? The state of Alabama has a bill right now in its legislature, but it wouldn't go into effect until 2023. So Dan Mullen can recruit athletes starting on July 1 and tell them they are going to have the opportunity to get paid if they go to Florida or the Florida State, Florida State University or Miami or any other college, right? The state of Alabama can't do that. So this recruiting advantage that like a Nick Saban has had for all these years, if these states have the power, is going to be eliminated. Now, Emirates and the Congress right now understand this. There's an interstate commerce issue that they think would supersede the states. It's very complicated. I'm not getting into it. But the fact is there's a congressman from Ohio, Anthony Gonzalez, former wide receiver from Ohio State University. He's a Republican congressman. And he is working with Emirates and other people in D.C. to produce a bill that would sort of be a blanket name, image, and likeness law that would cover all states and sort of supersede the states themselves, like the Florida and the California bills. Does that make sense?
Yes. And Mr. Emmerich went to Washington 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The questions, I understand, I talked to two different reporters who were in the audience. I mean, these can be fairly mundane events, as you well know,
right.
Spending a lot of your time in Washington, but it was anything but. What did that indicate to you?
Let me tell you, this NIL, name, image, likeness, is 100% happening. College athletes absolutely 100% are going to get paid. It is a matter of whether it starts July 1 or whether it starts in the near future after that. So Emmerich thought he had till 2023. He now realizes the states are going to come in and pass bills before California's goes into effect. He has said, and he said in front of Congress, that they will address this this April, but really they'll have a plan by January 2021. Well, if Florida passes this bill and it goes, and the law in Florida goes into effect July 1, 2020, then he's got to hold a special, from what I'm told, he's got to hold a special session and get something passed immediately. Congressman Gonzalez has not put forward his bill yet. He is working on it, hopes to have it done in the next 2 months. I talked to his office this morning, and they hope to have a bill in the next 2 months. And then they're going to have to get the United States Senate, probably Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas, another big college basketball state. But they're going to try to work on a bill together that would supersede these state laws. Complete chaos could occur in the next 4 months.
And we're in a political season. I know that's a shocker to anyone watching.
This is more interesting than some of the politics.
Does the election matter to this, or will it be determined before?
Well, you've got Bernie, who's been out there not only advocating for name, image, and likeness, but he wants college athletes to form a union. So that's another step more.
Okay. That's been out there before.
The Trump administration is working on this issue behind the scenes. They have not given an opinion yet. So that's where that stands. So right now,
I'm knowing the president, and you've been in the Oval Office with President Trump. Do you have a guess on which way he would go?
Oh, I think he's going to support it. It's inevitable. Most politicians go for what's inevitable. And this one is 100% going to happen. Now, here's the interesting, like, you have the transfer rule. Which
I want to get into, too, because that's
So think about this. If you're a college athlete in another state and Florida passes this bill and the federal bill does not pass, right? Then why can't a student athlete transfer to a college in Florida and get paid? It can happen. And by the way, we sort of kind of saw this in a weird way this week with Scott Cochran. Now, he was making money on his name, image, and likeness in Alabama, and then he transferred to Georgia.
Alabama graduate talking there. We'll take a break. We'll get your call. We'll try to include some phone calls a little bit later on this, because it's a fact. And I want to get into the transfer situation as well, because they do go hand in hand. Phillip Stutts in our studio here in New York. We'll be right back. We're back live in New York on a Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. Phillip Stutts in the house. We're talking about the NIL, but I want to bring in the transfer policy as well, because coaches really believe this is going to just blast open the game as we know it. Kirk Herbstreit was here yesterday, and he is against it. Nick Saban is concerned about it. How does it play into what we're talking about here with the NIL?
Yeah, it's a great point. There is a tidal wave coming where players are going to have the rights, and the administrations and the coaches are not. I don't know what that means long term for college football or college athletics, where the players are in charge. But that is where we're going with this. You're already seeing this with the portal, where people are transferring in and out and moving on, and it's had an effect, good or bad. The way you view college athletics over your entire lifetime, over my lifetime, is going to be drastically different in the next 5 years. Drastically different.
And I mean, everything is connected, but this does not necessarily marry the politics of today, though, does it? In Washington, you're in Washington all the time. It doesn't. But that doesn't matter. Things change when we get into the sports arena, does it not?
Yeah, everything is. And look, there's been a disproportion of power in college athletics for a long time, and the athletes are finally getting a voice. They're not unionizing, but they're going to have a voice. And listen, I mean, if you think about it, and I know like Jay Billis is huge on this, but there's a point to it. If you're a female tennis player at a university, it could be a Division III, and in the summertime you want to give lessons to a girl who thinks, wow, it'd be amazing to take a lesson, from a little girl who would be amazing to take lessons from a college athlete or a known female athlete. Right. They should have the right to be able to give those little kids lessons. If Jalen Hurts wants to start a YouTube page, and I'm, obviously interconnected within the digital world, the digital advertising world, he should be able to start a YouTube page and make some money on that. Like any other college student could do that. Why can't the athletes do that?
And I want to give a little bit of a primer here, because we not to turn you into the professor, but you would be a good one. Why can't they? Right now, before we get to this NIL, why has the NCAA, at least on surface, seems so antediluvian?
It's the golden rule. Those with the gold make the rules. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, it's just.
That's what it is.
I
listen. All the coaches are making all the money. The NCAA is making all the money. The conferences are making all the money. The only people that aren't making the money are the players. And over time, these things have built. It's now a movement, and movement's about to happen. It's going to happen.
Do you think it's just something that has taken time? Because you do a lot of polling for candidates, for firms. You swim in the swamp all the time, whether you want to or not. I thought it was going to be drained, by the way. And I mean, why now, I guess, is my broad question.
I'm not going to talk about a social issue, but I remember on the Bush campaign in 2004, there were two hot button issues, like legalization of marijuana, and there was no one that was going to be for that. And then there were 13 states in 2004 that voted against gay marriage. Where those issues stand now,
right?
They're not even a thought. People don't even argue with this anymore.
I mean, I was watching the debate last night. I was ready to light up.
Right. Well, walk down the city street of New York and you get plenty of it. But these issues are off the table. Over time, their movements happen, and people realize that we have to change as a society. College athletics is completely changing. It is going to change. It is over as you know it, and it could either happen this July or it could happen over the next 2 years.
And I know you mentioned to me off the air. I want to talk about it on the air. Everyone, all these conferences, everyone's in Washington now lobbying. Everyone's trying to figure out what to do. It seems. I mean, and by the way, not only is this going on, you've got same track, sports gambling, racing down to the detriment of almost everyone in the platform. I mean, all these things are just. I know all these things just didn't start happening last night.
No, the lobbyists are involved. The NCAA basically had not spent any money on lobbying since like 2014, or very little. They spent $450,000 on lobbying last year. Why? Because they're trying to slow this down. It's inevitable. They can't stop it. The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12 have all hired lobbyists. There's, at this point over the last year, there's been $750,000 spent on lobbyists by the conferences and the NCAA.
I hate to ask someone who makes a lot of money dealing in these waters, but what does a lobbyist do?
He goes to the Hill. He or she goes to the Hill and advocates for their client to both staff and the Congress people, and then they help write the laws. I
asked you that because I spent a day. I was involved many years ago with a a public official in Alabama asked me if I would be involved with a charity. I thought it was a good idea. I'll be involved. It was a roast, and she told me that many prominent people had done it. I didn't realize. Then she said, "Do you mind coming to Montgomery one day to be with our lobbyists?" And I went down there, and I asked you a question I knew the answer to, but I didn't realize what lobbyists do.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the day with their lobbyists, and I will tell you, even though it was a great cause, and I was proud to help raise money, it was for children, I found the experience among the most nauseating things I've ever done, having to go along and meet with a bunch of, and we're not talking about senators and congressmen. I mean, we're talking about the lowest form of humanity, state representatives and state senators.
Well, that absolutely happens. I tend to believe that it's part of our First Amendment right to have your voice heard. I'm not a lobbyist. Let me be very clear. I'm not a lobbyist, but I see the value of it. I've seen nefarious activity, but I've seen really good activity as well.
And by the way, this was in Alabama, and I'm just guessing of the 25 or 30 people that I saw that day, I would say 60 to 70% are either on trial or already in the penitentiary. That was an exaggeration, but
are you talking about Louisiana or Alabama?
I get the states confused sometimes.
There's a lot of similarities.
But it was interesting to see the other side, and on a state, I also did something I'm not going to reveal the name of the company, but I did an event a couple of years ago in Atlanta, and they told me that I was the MC of it, and at this one event there were at least 200 or 300 lawyers and lobbyists who had come up from Washington because we were honoring the CEO and the chairman of the board. And I'm like going, I started calculating the amount of money that the industry that this is. And I know you're laughing, saying you really are naive, aren't you? I'm not, but I play that character on television.
Yeah, the lobbyist friends I have are out every night. That sounds miserable to me, and they have to go to these things and act like everybody's great friends, and it's just not.
And that's when
my cup of tea.
No, that's when you can't play golf. Well, we will take a break. Still have time to we're plowing through all this. I'm not just attacking everyone I know that's in public office. Just most of them. We'll be right back. Okay, we're gonna wrap up things here with Phillip, and I apologize. I know a lot of calls a lot of people have been on hold, so we will get to your calls in the next segment after this. I have to ask you this though, because by the way, you've just been castigated by one of our callers.
Well, that would be as usual.
What I really want to ask you though is, this seems like we've never been down this road before in sports or in our space, but. It seems like I've seen some of this movie before.
Yeah, I would say the steroid era in baseball. Bud Selig was very slow to make changes during the steroid era, even though people knew things were going to come. And it took those congressional hearings, those infamous congressional hearings, that were a disaster for baseball to get Selig to move faster. And so what you're seeing right now is Congress coming in and telling Mark Emmert in the NCAA, you got to go and you got to do something fast and you got to move on this. And we're going to help you and partner with you, but you got to change. And I think that's what's going to speed this more than anything. Not only are these states pushing for this, and what happened in the steroid era is they put in all the testing and the agreements with the players union to curb that. That's gone. That's all. The steroid era is over. But it took the congressional hearings in 2005 to get that moving. And for the NCAA, these congressional hearings they just had, and they had it in front of the United States Senate, it's pushing. The bill that Anthony Gonzalez has is a great bill, and Emirates attached to it too. So, are going to be attached to it. So it hasn't been released. He'll release it soon. But really, it's the pressure that Congress puts to get these institutions to make movement.
I know in the political realm, everything is horse racing and handicapping, but as best you could guess, we think the transfer situation is going to happen. That's what the experts are saying. What about the NIL?
It's 100% going to happen. I mean, you cannot stop the train. It's coming. It's just a matter of whether it's this year, next year, or 2023. That's the odds. I'd say 2023 will never happen. That it will be on the table. Players will be getting paid within the next 2 years, maybe even the next year.
So if you're Mark Emmert, he's resisted this for a long time. It's caught up to him.
Well, now he's for it.
Yeah, of course. What kind of teeth can you put in the legislation that it's not going to be a win, but it won't be a disaster either?
So the bill that Congressman Gonzalez will put forth makes all college athletes eligible for name, image, and likeness payments. They are saying that they will protect nefarious characters from coming to the market, and that these players are not going to be employees of the universities. So
we've got something on the board for those folks on radio.
Yeah.
And this is
these are the 5 pillars of Congressman Gonzalez's bill. That, again, he has not dropped yet. It has not come out, but these are the 5
preserve
pillars.
college athletic system, permit every sport and division to capitalize, federally preempt state laws to create uniform standard, protect student athlete status as amateurs, not employees, and provide protection from bad actors in recruiting.
That's right.
And transfers. Are there good actors in recruiting?
That's for you to figure out. So, but these are the pillars that he will file his bill with, and Mark Emmert is on, from what I'm understanding, is going to be on board with this.
And
he's basically begging the Congress to save him here.
In Congress, you mentioned Gonzalez. I don't think we need a civics lesson in terms of how Congress works. We just got through watching this live and in living color. You're saying you think it goes through the House, and then what happens?
The Senate, U.S. Senator Jerry Moran will probably lead the effort. Maybe another senator that signs on to the bill. There may be some Democrats that sign on. This is, by the way, a very bipartisan issue.
That's what's fascinating about this.
Unbelievably bipartisan. In fact, Congressman Gonzalez keeps saying this is going to be a bipartisan bill, and he's right. So, it's going to, but these things move slowly. But there's a deadline. If Florida passes this bill, it's July 1.
Right.
So what's going to happen? This is the big intrigue.
Let's say it passes in Florida, and you live in Florida. You think it will, right?
I know it will pass. The question is the deadline July 1, 2020 or July 1, 2021? Because it's either 21 or 2020 that it goes into
What type of teeth? Let's say Congress is busy right now with other things, and Florida passes and decides we're going into effect right now.
Yeah.
Will there be any teeth
utter
that, or if you want, you can make whatever you want?
Utter chaos.
Okay.
I mean, utter chaos. And the states that don't have anything are going to come in and have special sessions and try to pass something immediately. You could see a Nick Saban calling the state capital, Montgomery, Alabama, and saying, "You guys better get something on the boards immediately." It's going to be a recruiting advantage.
That's where I want. That's what I want to end this on, and we'll come back to this soon. Let's talk about that, because I mean, even though I know most of us know what's going on, it doesn't seem like this bell has gone off in many places.
And again, think about the transfer rule.
Yeah,
you can transfer to a college in Florida and start getting paid.
You have Florida State.
They can finally start winning again.
Florida.
Yeah.
It's a seriously depressed state for the most part in terms of national championships in a long time. I think 2008 would be the last time that state has won a national championship. A state that controlled college football in
Tim Tebow time.
In the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Oh, no, Florida State won. 2012.
I don't recognize that. You are correct. Because it's hard for me to believe that Jimbo Fisher...
Twitter's going to get you on that.
I was just testing FSU Twitter. Florida State did win, and because they ended the SEC streak, I refuse to recognize.
There you go. That makes total sense to me.
I'm just never going to recognize Jameis Winston throwing to Benjamin in the end zone with 13 seconds to go in the road. Not that I'm obsessing over that.
Right. I was okay with it.
I bet
they
you
beat
were.
Auburn.
So Florida, you spent a lot of time in Alabama. You're from Alabama. Where's Alabama on this right now?
Yeah, the bill. Well, the bill they have has been proposed by Democrats, so it may be off the table to begin with, right?
There are Democratic legislators
Apparently,
in
there's
Alabama.
one left, and but even if it does pass, it wouldn't go into effect until 2023 because they're trying to model California's bill.
What about Louisiana? What about Georgia?
So there are 25 states that have bills going in the state legislatures right now. So if 25 states pass, think of the chaos. Think of it's just gonna be insane out there because they're all gonna have different rules. Okay. Players can basically become free agents and go where they want. By the way, the bill in Florida, they're actually debating right now whether that casinos and strip clubs aren't allowed to sponsor athletes. So that's one of the little caveats to that bill.
Can't wait. Come back soon. I mean, I see this becoming a recruiting deal where, and I think I know everyone's aware of it, but I can just see somebody calling Saban's office or Ed Ogeron's office or Jimbo Fisher's office saying, "Hey, we're going to lose all our players to Florida."
Yeah, I think it won't get to that, but that's on the table right now.
It's all your fault.
Yeah,
Phillip Stutts, a fantastic conversation. Really appreciate you coming by.
Of course.
We will see you very soon. We'll take a short break, and I know we are tardy on calls. That's what I've been told, so we'll try to make up for lost ground here in the final few minutes of the show.